What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. All right. So before I get into the video, I want to give a shout out to Bernard for his contribution to the channel. Much respect to Bernard for showing love to the channel. I want to thank everybody that contributes to this channel and who has contributed to this channel in the past. I want to thank everybody that signs to the Patreon. Um, try to put up something on. Try to put up another video on Patreon tonight. A couple of YouTube videos as well. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. And in this video, I want to talk about an ESPN topic that I saw, okay? They were talking about the fact that today, March 2nd, is the anniversary of Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. And they were talking about whether or not James Harden or Kyrie Irving could score 100 points in today's game. And I find this topic just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. So first of all, it was March 2nd, 1962, 59 years ago today, in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that Wilton Norman Chamberlain scored 100 points against the New York Knicks, or as they were more commonly known back then, the New York Knickerbockers. Now, they asked Max Kellerman who he thought could score 100 points, and Max Kellerman, being that he leans really heavy on analytics and numbers, he picked James Harden, all right? He picked the fact that James Harden has the ball in his hands a lot. He shoots the ball a lot. He's had a lot of 50, 60-point triple-doubles, just not in the playoffs when it matters. But he's had them. So he went with James Harden. Stephen A. Smith went with Kyrie Irving because of his personality, his panache, and his flair for the dramatics and all that type stuff. He thought that Kyrie Irving would be more of a guy that could do it. Interesting how they didn't pick Devin Booker because he's the closest to. Now, they didn't reference that game, but Devin Booker is technically the closest to get there. He was 30 points shy. And the thing about Devin Booker's game, from what I recall, is one of the most selfish games I've ever seen in my life. Um, you know, as far as him shooting with, I think the game was well decided, and he was still in the game, if I'm not mistaken. And I can't remember whether it was. I can't remember whether it was a blowout for the Suns or whether the opponent. No, I think the opponent was beating the shit out of Phoenix, but Devin Booker had this game and they were celebrating, even though they fucking lost. And it was just bad for basketball. It really showed you what it's supposed to be a team game. It's devolving more into individual like achievement, popularity contest bullshit, whatever. But this is the thing I want to say about Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game that I think gets lost in context. You see all this psychobabble about going down with on your shield and going out with your guns blazing like this is fucking Tombstone or some romanticized cowboy bullshit. Okay, this ain't Django Unchained. It's a fucking sport. I like Django Unchained. Can't say why I like it, but I like it. But I don't hear. But this is the thing. Kobe's 81-point game, Michael's 69-point game against the Cavaliers, and Wilt's 100-point game. They all came within the flow of the game to a degree. Kobe didn't realize that he had scored that many points until late in the fourth quarter. He didn't really know what he had accomplished until late in the game. But they needed all of those points. It went from being a double-digit deficit against the Raptors, who were the worst team in the NBA defensively, to being a close contest to blowing it open. All because Kobe put that team on his back. Jordan's 69-point game against the Cavaliers, when they were battling against each other for Eastern Conference supremacy, that came within the flow of the game. But Jordan did up the ante, if I remember correctly. I think it was during the third quarter when he got flagrant foul going to the basket. And he did sort of up the ante, but his points still came within the floor of the offense. I think he shot something like 23 or 36 from the floor in that game. Right? Now, this is the thing about Wilt Chamberlain. Now, before Wilt, several years earlier, the individual scoring high game was 63 by Jumpin' Joe Fulks of the Philadelphia Warriors. Now, that stood as the record for many, many, many years. Even George Mikan never cracked 63, his career high, 61. That stayed the record all the way until Elgin Baylor scored 71 points in the game. And he did it also against the New York Knickerbockers. That was the record until Wilton Norman Chamberlain scored 73 points in the game. So that was the all-time record. And then Wilt broke his own record. It was a 78-point game. I can't remember who he did it against. I used to know that, but he scored 78 points in the game. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibility at that time that someone could do that, being that he already had two 70-point games, damn near 80-point game, 78 points. Also, you have to remember this. Wilt Chamberlain had routinely scored 30 or more at halftime. 35 at half, 38, 34. You know what I'm saying? He had 41 at halftime in this game against the Knicks. And what was different about this game than any other game that Wilt had was not just the efficiency. Because in those days, it was difficult. Remember, it was more big man heavy and it was more role heavy in those games. Now you have a lot of the NBA is more positionless basketball. Back then it was role heavy. Guy Rogers, his job on the floor was to run the offense and distribute. You know what I'm saying? Wilt Chamberlain, the pivot man, they were the one. The game was backwards as opposed to that. The pivot was the one who generally, on most teams, was the guy that scored most of the points. He was the bigger player. Okay, the biggest player. Some teams you had other guys, Elgin Baylor, but he was a big small forward. Uh, you know, Paul Arizin, but he was a big guard. So usually it was the guys with a size advantage that often were the guys that were the scorers. Okay, but what was different about Wilt Chamberlain this night is his efficiency. I think he was shooting something like 20. I want to say he was shooting like maybe a halftime like 18 or 25 or something like that. I mean, just crazy efficiency. And he was making his foul shots. He was knocking down his free throws. Wilt was not a really good free throw shooter, but he had made all of his foul shots. He wound up shooting 28 or 32 from the foul line, which is by far the best night he ever had shooting free throws. For one night, he turned it to fucking Steph Curry from the foul line. But it was Guy Rogers and head coach Frank McGuire that conspired at halftime and said, let's give Wilt the ball and see if we can get him 100 points. Let's see if we can break his record. They actually tried to go for 100. Wilt, of course, went along with this. When the New York Knicks started realizing what was going on, they became levied and they began doubling and triple teaming and trying to deny Wilt, ball deny Wilt all fucking second half. Okay, but Wilt got rolling in the third quarter. Right, comes out third quarter, he scores I think 28 points in the third quarter. Right, he winds up with 69 points going into the fourth quarter. So it's attainable because Wilt had scored 30 points in the quarter before, but it's going to be a task. Now, going into the fourth quarter, Wilt is still rolling, and then he gets to 80. And then the Knicks begin to realize what's going on. They realize that guys are passing up shots now. You know, his teammates, Arizon and others. I think Tom Gola might have been on that team. Anyway, I think Tom Gola was on the team. They were passing up shots just to give it to Wilt Chamberlain. The Knicks become livid at this because they realize, okay, you guys are making a mockery of this. You're not even competing against us. You're trying to set a fucking record. So they really go after Wilt Chamberlain. They really are being physical with him. They're doubling and tripling him. Okay? And you gotta remember, back in the day, a foul was kind of different from today. We had bruisers back then. Like guys that would fucking elbow you in the fucking mouth, in the back of the head. They would scratch you. I mean, it was a different NBA. People think the 90s and 80s were physical. The 50s and 60s was a whole different level physical. Okay. So Wilt begins to miss shots. All right. Because the defense is being amped up. So he's missing, he's missing, he's missing. But then after he misses maybe 6, 7, 8 shots in a row, he calms down and he starts making shots again. He starts making some jumpers. He starts making some couple of fallaway jumpers, and he starts taking it to the hole more. All right, where he's able to take advantage more of his size and his strength. Because you got to remember, Wilt's game was a little bit different back there, which is why his efficiency was a little different. That Wilt Chamberlain didn't just power dunk under the basket. He would actually he had been a Harlem Globetrotter, and he had developed a lot of on ball skills that you didn't see from other big men at that time. Not saying he was Elijah one, but he had a fall away jumper out to 17, 18 feet. He could put the ball on the floor and make some moves and do some things. Now as he progressed, and got older, he kind of I don't know if I want to say he lost some of those abilities, but I think he slowly lost some of that skill set, and he became more of a traditional guy, a traditional low post scorer. But anyway, Will gets to 90, and they really ramp it up now. These guys aren't even attempting to shoot anymore, and they force feed Wilt. They force feed Wilt, and he gets to like 94, and then 96. I think he might shoot a couple foul shots because that was his Achilles. So it was fouling Wilt. In the other game, Wilt would be tricking foul shots and be fucking up, but he was still knocking them down. He was in a rhythm. He was in the zone. And then with 40 seconds, I think, to go, he dunks it. He gets 100, and it's pandemonium. This is a small little stadium. There's 4,000 people, but it's pandemonium. And it's still probably the only NBA game that never officially stopped. Um, well, you know what? I think that also happened. I think it's one of only two games where the actual game never stopped. That one and the Malice at the Palace. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think the clock ever really ran out in that Malice at the Palace game. But that's the truth. So basically what I'm saying is that was a team effort. Almost a little bit like Kobe Bryant in his 60-point game. He wasn't the same Kobe. He still made those great shots. So you always got to give him most of the credit. But it was Byron Scott and the team that really wanted to give Kobe this farewell swan song performance for the crowd, and they helped Kobe along the way to get 60. They were guys were giving up shots to give Kobe the ball. So that's basically what I'm trying to say. Like, it was a team effort, as opposed to this thing, this narrative where, oh, to get 100 points, you got to be this guy that says fuck it, get out of my way, I'm gonna shoot the ball 100 times because I'm the man, and that's not usually how it goes. You know what I'm saying? That's usually not how it goes. Um, that's why when James Harden was going for what he went for in a 50, 60 point blowout, I found that a little disgusting. Um, because I could tell, number one, that wasn't something that the whole team had on board, and to be blown out like that and still be in the game, at least I think until the fourth quarter, the Knicks Warriors game might have been a little bit close, but then it kind of blew out at the end. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, stop disparaging Will Chamberlain. Stop trying to make it seem like, oh, he wasn't this skilled guy, because I'm going to refute this bullshit time and time again. If I'm not mistaken, Will Chamberlain shot 54% from the floor for his career. 54%. I don't think LeBron or Magic or Kobe or Jordan or Durant or Curry, if I haven't said them already, Harden damn sure, Kyrie, none of these guys are anywhere near that type of accuracy. None of them. So that's all I got to say. Tell